This is Glambition Radio, episode number 293, No Choice But to Own It, with Suneera Madhani.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Welcome to Glambition Radio. I am your host, Allie Brown. I'm an entrepreneur, mentor, investor, and founder of The Trust, the modern premier network for 7- and 8-figure women leaders. I love thinking big, doing different, and exploring ideas that disrupt the status quo, especially when it comes to women, because we are creating the new models for leadership, business success, making money, and changing the world. And hey, we're doing it with style. So let's go. I am back for just a bit, and then I'm heading back to the beach. Why? It is really hot here in the Scottsdale, Phoenix area, like 111 today. Like, what do you do with that? July is a scorcher, and so everyone manages somehow to get out of town. I mean, it's just very common that people will just take off and leave. So we're going back to the beach again. Got the kids in some camps here in town right now, and then next week we're going to head back. So I'm excited to be back at the ocean another week or two. I mean, this is why we do what we do, right? To have the freedom to do this. And I think there was a point that I kind of forgot that. And so this summer has been really liberating, saying, you know what, I'm going to be offline for a month, or I want to be flexible to travel and just do some client calls. Maybe that's it. And then I'll be back, really fully in the game, say August, maybe after my birthday. Kind of forgot about that. I want to take some time off my birthday too. Got to put that in the calendar. Okay. So today's interview, you're going to love Suneera. You may not know her name, and you may not even know Stax, S-T-A-X, which is her company. I've known about it and her for a while because of the EY Winning Women program that we have been in together. And when I first heard about this idea she had, I was like, this is so brilliant. And what the idea is, if you have a merchant account and you know how much those fees add up for you to take credit cards, which you want to do, make it easy for people to pay you, you know how much those fees add up to though. And every time we would get those statements and we're scratching our heads going like, there's gotta be a better way. Like, why has no one reinvented this industry? Suneera did, with a flat fee subscription model, just mind-blowing. In fact, so mind-blowing that she tried to give this idea away years ago to the major processors and credit card companies, and they just couldn't even get their head around it. Now they all want to work with her. And Stax is the first women-led fintech company with a $1 billion valuation. And we've got her here today. Very excited. Want to give a shout out to 2 quick reviews because I haven't done this in a while. And I really appreciate when you all share your comments publicly about Glambition Radio. Good ones, please. I'm only going to read those. Okay, just kidding. They're almost all good, except for like 1 or 2 nitwits. The first one is from Maggie. Thank you, Maggie. It's always exciting to see a new show come out. Each interview is inspiring and different. Looking forward to more. And then the next one is from Sherry Q. Glambition Radio is hands down one of the best podcasts to download. I love the inspiration and stories of those who have worked hard to get to where they are. Entrepreneurship is challenging, but so rewarding. And this show is a great reminder to never give up. I'm so glad I found access to a group of level up minds. Love that. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to let other women know and give that social proof that the show is a cut above. We have such intelligent conversations and we have some fun. And one last thing, I want to make sure that you have all gone to iconicwithallybrown.com, iconicwithallybrown.com, because we are about to open the gates for my event we're having again this November. You can get all the details there, the dates, location, what we're doing, why we're doing it. But this is our chance to get together again and really remember who we are, to power up and get back out there with our purpose in this lifetime. If you haven't noticed, the world's going nuts. Things that were up or down or up, right, left, like, I don't even know what to say sometimes. And I'm really glad that my kids don't even understand a lot of what's going on or even know about it. It's my job as a mom to shelter when appropriate. So when you look at the grand scheme of things and how whack-a-dack everything is, it's tempting to hide, isn't it? It's kind of tempting to just go back in the turtle shell and be like, I'm not dealing with this, and I had this big purpose, but God, we're just exhausted, aren't we? We are just exhausted from the external. So what we need to do is come back together in a room of women with such amazing powers that we've created these businesses, and we know there's an even bigger level there waiting for us, but we need to tap back into who we are, come up with that next level plan, and leave there refreshed, empowered, like so fired up to take this to a whole nother level into 2023. iconicwithallybrown.com. There's no obligation, just get on the list there, because then you'll be first to know when all the details are available, and you can decide if it's right for you, all right? You do not have to be at 7-8 figures to come to Iconic, okay? Unlike the trust. Iconic, we have a minimum that we're looking for about 6 figures, okay? We're looking for a bit of a track record if you've been in business for a while. But, we just encourage you to apply. We encourage you to apply, look at doing this for yourself this year, and then we'll see if it's a fit, okay? iconicwithallybrown.com. Now, get ready for a powerful conversation with Suneera Madhani. Suneera, where are you today?
Allie, I am at Stax headquarters in Orlando, Florida, and I'm sitting in my personal office here. I'm going
to start saying headquarters. I'm at Glambition headquarters here in Scottsdale, Arizona, live recording.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We actually have multiple offices. So we have offices in California, in Chicago, in Canada, and where else? Dallas. So we've got a few different offices. They're smaller offices, but headquarters is what we call our Orlando office, where we probably have about 200 of our team members here in Orlando.
Wow.
And then the rest are spread elsewhere.
What's it like walking around an office like that as CEO, like walking around knowing like, crap, like I'm the one in charge, right? Like I'm owning it. I'm Suneera. What is it like? And seeing all those lives that, people, they're affected by you and everything you do leading the company.
Oh, I love this question. And honestly, no one's asked me like what it feels like to walk around the office. It still feels surreal. Like I will tell you, no matter how much success that we've had, or I've had, or no matter how much success, just even my own transition from going from founder to CEO, and it doesn't matter. Like I still feel just so grateful, so humble. I love my team. Like it sounds so cliche, but no matter what you do in business, it's all about, I always believe we're all in the people business. And so I'm so grateful to have the team back in the office. It was so heartbreaking during COVID and just figuring out all the remote work environment. And we have so much more remote work now. So not everyone's in office all the time, 5 days a week, but it's definitely a very in-person office culture. And so it is so nice to see everyone's smiling faces, collaborating, just being in meetings. Allie, one of the moments I remember is the first time I walked past a conference room, maybe like in our previous office. We have like a really cool new office. We moved in 2020, but in our old office, we're like in this really dingy, like above the bars, startup, very, very startup environment. And we had taken over every single office that was available in that building at that point. And I remember walking into a room, a conference, like walking past the conference rooms, and I have no idea what they were meeting about. And I was like, man, this is when I truly know that I really have become a CEO, is when I'm not involved. Like I have no idea what they're meeting about. I don't know. Like I see all these, all of my directors and different people in meetings. And
decisions are being made without you.
Yeah, without me. And I think that was one of the moments I was like, oh my God, this is so real. But it feels incredible. It definitely feels still very, very humbling and very real, especially when you see your people. And I just love them so much, truly. And it's so fun. Like we literally all just finished this last day of the month today. So we're recording this earlier than I know it's going to release, but it's last day of the month. And every last day of the month, we have like a family, like lunch, like a team lunch. And so we had, we always pick like a local small business, a customer of ours, or, my mom cooks for us. That's like another topic. So my mom makes butter chicken. for the whole team. And so today we had like a really fun vegan burger today from one of our customers, and we just get to like eat lunch together. So it's so nice seeing everyone's faces.
I love this. There's so much more to your story than I realized. And, I met you briefly a few years ago at one of the EY events, which have been great to connect with incredible women. And then I hear the news about the valuation, right? And so I'm like, okay, I wanted to get you on the show before. And now I'm like, oh my God, we have to get her on. Also, I became a customer, which I'd like to say. And there's so many things I love about this. It's hard to know where to start, but I think I'd like to start with before you created this company. Who were you? What were you doing? Like, what were you trying to become? Who were you trying to become at that time?
Oh my God, so many questions in that one question. But first of all, I want to say thank you for being a customer. I think it's so incredible when women actually support women. And it's one thing to, talk the talk and say we support each other. It's one thing to actually pull out our wallets and actually sign up for our services and goods and products and support each other in that way. So I think it's so rad and so awesome. So thank you for that. And going back to who was I before I started? Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm now I'm the same me. I'm definitely more mature. So definitely just a more mature me that has a ton of experience now, where I would say 10 years ago when I started this business, I had absolutely no experience. This was the first time I was starting a business. I was a reluctant entrepreneur, which I know you and you were like, I need to get into the story of where I tried to give away my idea like 100 times. I was like, I don't want to do this. Somebody should just do this. And so I'm the same human. And I think that's the reason I still am able to show up every day. Because I really am true to my values and who I am. And there was a point in my career when, things were moving really fast. And as soon as I took on venture capital and I was trying to fit into this world that I didn't really feel I didn't belong in, not because I didn't want to belong, just because I didn't have a seat at the table, because there was no women around at this table. And so for those that don't know, I have a financial technology company called Stax. We are a payments company. So we do payment processing, credit card processing. We compete head to head with like the greatest giants like Stripe and Square. What we do differently though, is we are focused on a couple key verticals. So professional services, healthcare, field services, anything that needs to send like invoicing, recurring billing, in-person transactions, as well as online transactions. So when you have what's called omni-channel payments. So I'm not going to geek out too much about it, but we do payments really, really well. And we have a really cool platform. So it's specific for some verticals. And so that's what we do. I launched this company in 2014 after working for the payment card industry. So I was in the industry. I went to school, graduated with a degree in finance and marketing. I was the first in my family to graduate college, which we can have a whole podcast on my immigrant parents and their incredible journey and how I grew up. But I grew up in a very entrepreneurial household, but entrepreneurship was out of necessity. It wasn't something that now it's like glamorized and it's so sexy and everyone can be an entrepreneur, which is so amazing. But for my parents, it was their only means to the American dream. They weren't educated. They didn't have, a lot of resources. And so this was the way to have the American dream. And their American dream was not to be rich and famous or to have, it was to give their kids an education. So they wanted to make sure that we were able to have a university degree and a steady paycheck. So
what kind of businesses did they start?
Small businesses. So we had convenience stores. So my parents were Pakistani. And so pretty much every cliche Pakistani business that you can think of. So we had little cafes and convenience stores. I was like stocking shelves at the age of 6. Like I literally grew up in these small businesses. I did an interview just this morning with Entrepreneur Magazine. And we were going deep into like how I was like an entrepreneur before I even knew I was an entrepreneur. And that was my MBA. So I didn't go to CEO school is what I always say. So I didn't go to CEO school.
Yeah. It's cool you saw that though. You always saw them. They were just getting it done.
Yes. And that was it. Those were the values, right? It's like, it was truly about hard work. It was truly about resiliency. It was all the abundance mindset, like all of these things that we're now, preaching about on social media and, on how to be this like amazing leader and, how to take care of your people and your customer first, like every like business term, like that's just about like doing good business. Right. So I got to really see just having good values and how that translates into good business and really great family values. So that comes full circle later on because I did get, my education and then I got corporate positions. I was working in corporate in payments. And so that's kind of how I fell into this industry. But I saw a lot of wrong being done and not a lot of people standing up for all the wrong or wanting to really make changes in an industry that wasn't very heavily regulated, and it should be. And so I was standing up, I was trying to make change. I wasn't heard. And I had this brilliant idea to launch the first subscription-based credit card processor, which meant that instead of all of the fees, you just pay the flat monthly subscription. And instead of like, there's like a million hands that it takes by the time that the transaction, like who ends up paying for the transaction is the business owner. But Visa, MasterCard, like disclose like what it costs to run that. And so I was like, why can't somebody just take it direct to the card networks? And so here I am. I think my naivete of like just being this young kid without the experience, I think that actually was what worked in my favor, because I was asking all of these bold questions that nobody had asked because I was curious. It's just like when my 5-year-old now is like curious and she asks me questions. I'm like, actually, I don't know. Let's go look that up or let's go figure that out. And so I was just young and ambitious, and I was asking all these questions to people who really didn't give a damn, right? Like they didn't, I said like they didn't give a fuck. Like they just wanted to make it was transactions over profits, transactions over people, right? Transactions over people. And literally I was in the transaction business. And so I pitched my idea for the first subscription-based processor, flat rate. This is going to be game changer. And I pitched it to my team and my bosses. Again, a room full of men as the usual, because there were no women in the financial services sector. The women that worked there were not in any sort of leadership position. They were only in customer support or admins or assistants. No women in leadership whatsoever. And let alone any women CEOs. Like that was like, it wasn't even existent. And I pitched this idea to my team, my bosses, and I pretty much get laughed out of the room. So you could probably do a little bit of research and you could hear the story elsewhere, but I'm not going to bore you with it. But I ended up walking away. I ended up quitting, and I ended up trying to pitch this idea to like multiple different companies. Like, again, I don't even know what it was. I would become an entrepreneur. I just wanted to see this come to life. I wanted it to be part of the experience. I wanted to be part of the experience in seeing my idea come to life. But I think it was because I lacked the confidence. And also in my mind, I was like, I don't have the resources. How am I going to go find Mr. Visa? It just felt like this really crazy, audacious thing to go do. I wanted to secretly do it, but I didn't know how. And that stopped me from going for it. And so after—
just a quick question. Like, were you going to these companies saying like, okay, I'd like to come work for you because I want to launch this idea and we could do it together kind of thing? Like, how were you approaching them?
It was like that. So it was more of like I think it started off as like a consulting basis. And I was like, hey, I think this should come to market. I had some protection in place of the ideas, but nothing is really protectable when you're like one single person with like no resources. Like I had no money in my bank account. So even if anyone could have taken it. And anyway, I did. I tried to go get some support, and I needed to still get like financial partners to go do this. It's not like I'm opening up a retail store, or a cupcake shop, or an e-commerce store. I literally have to go build payment rails and architecture and software. And I don't even know. Honestly, I look back and I'm like, holy shit. Like I was absolutely fucking nuts, really ambitious. And I don't know. I got rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected. And I kept getting back up. And I think it's because I had nothing to lose. So I think that was also this beautiful time in my life where I didn't have anybody else to take care of besides myself. And so looking back now, like at my 35-year-old self compared to my 25-year-old self, like I don't know if I would have taken those same risks, but I'm so glad that I did. And that little idea or that rejection that was rejected by every single processor. They're all my partners now, by the way. So we run 23 billion in payments through our network. We serve over 30,000 customers now. We're onboarding 1,000 net new customers per month. We have over 100 software companies that utilize like that their customers use us and they don't even know like who we are, right? So it's like now like integrated payments and whatever software you're using, right? So many of your entrepreneurs, you guys use things like a business management tool or a CRM tool, right? So we have our integrations with HubSpot, right? But their customers might not even know who we are. And we just have these integrations like Stripe. So it's so cool to see what was from this idea into, there was a lot that happened in the 10 years, but fast forward, it's here, it's real. And we were just valued at over $1 billion, Ali. Like and not just valued, we're doing 100 million in recurring revenue. So I know like, there was
Yeah,
this
it's not just
article-
air, right? It's not
Yeah,
like some valuations aren't even profitable,
Yes. And we're not profitable. So that is something that we can be profitable. So we can be profitable and turn off marketing dollars and other things. We're choosing to invest back into the business, but so many learnings over this last decade for me. And the biggest lesson that I have is just to really just bet on yourself and like, just go for it. You don't have to go to CEO school. And that was like my biggest like imposter syndrome I had. I was constantly trying to validate myself. I was constantly trying to like what I say, like I was a man in a skirt. I was trying to fit like this venture world. I was trying to like be part of like this boys club. I just never felt like I belonged. And then one day it took me 5 years into this company and 5 years and a lot of success already. At that time we had 5 billion in payments. We were probably about maybe 10 to 15 million in revenue, like already validated, like all the things. And I still didn't feel like a CEO. I still didn't feel like I still was trying to fit into everyone's mold. And after my second baby, this was like when Anna was born, I was like, I've just fucking had it. Like, I just want to be myself. I'm going to show up as my whole self. I'm going to bring my kid to work. I'm going to give everyone, like, I'm going to focus on what I want to focus on. And that's really when the trajectory of the company took off. And I wish it happened sooner. Like, I wish I just leaned into who I was. And this is it. This is the true story. And now I could sit here and say, I can fully take, like, I give credit all the time. It's all my team. It's all the hard work of everyone. But I will say I give myself credit for one thing. And it's truly finally like owning my superpower. And my superpower is like, I'm not like everyone else. And I am me. And I am wild and crazy and fun and a really great mother and a really great CEO and a really empathetic leader. And I really do fucking care about my customers. And I really don't care about profits over people. I care about my people first and I care about my customers first. And I care about, saying no to things that don't align. And so all of those things that make me a human, those are the things that I try to bring to work and inspire other women to do the same because they don't have to go to CEO school either.
I love it. Okay, stop, because there's so much I want to unpack. There's so much that you just put in there that was fantastic. First, I want to say a personal thank you because the subscription model, like, just blew me away when I first heard about it, because all of us listening, especially if you've run a business, I've been selling stuff online. I started selling ebooks back in 2002 online. Like, I was really ahead of what was going on. And so learning all about these merchant accounts and how much, like, I'll be like, wait, what are all these fees? And it was insane. I'm like, this is like the Visa MasterCard mafia. And so, you just live with it. Everyone's like, oh, it just is what it is. Right. Like that for years, like, this is just how they do it. And then you come along with this idea that, they're like, yeah. Okay. And now you're the $1 billion valuation. I just love this so much. I have a big question. Do you ever feel like they were trying to stop you during the way? Because it is almost like, it seems to me almost like this untouchable, it is this way for a reason. Don't go messing with this little lady, Did you ever feel that? Or were you surprised at how you broke in and with the model?
Oh my goodness. I feel like, honestly, I fight in my sleep, Allie. Like, I feel like, and I don't want to, like, I feel like definitely the industry was, first they were like, she's like, this is great, right? This is a great concept and idea. It's never going to work. So that's how it first started, right? It's not going to take off. No one's like, you're not going to be ever be able to make a profit. She's like I was ruining the industry because I was bringing transparency to it. Right. So that's where the first component of this came from. And those are all those naysayers. And they were definitely, I wouldn't say trying to take me down, but they just didn't even think that I would even be a part of like the race. They're like, she's not even going to pre-qualify. So that's like the first chapter. And then chapter 2 is when we are actually, stealing customers or taking away market share. And we were taking away market share primarily from the banks at first. So a lot of the big banks, because they're very it's funny because we hear about the technology disruptors like Square and Stripe, but they're now just a huge contender in the marketplace. But over the last 20 years, it was the banks and the financial institutions that really served all small businesses for all of their kind of financial services.
Right. You would go to your business bank for your merchant account back then. If you banked with Bank of America, that's where you'd get that. And everything. Yeah.
Everything. And so that's why there's so much disruption. And this is why fintech is, I didn't even call ourselves a fintech back in 2013, right? But now fintech it's such a huge market because there's so much, like, if one giant controls the entire pie, they're not, and their legacy, they're the 800-pound gorillas. There's so much room for better experience through technology. And so now you have things like there's so much evolution in this and in commerce, and the banks controlled all of it. So first we were taking market share. So chapter 2, we're taking market share away, and then they're starting to pay attention, right? So they're starting to pay attention, and it's still not in terms of taking us down, but there's still a lot of like, it's just not going to work. And we didn't get support from them as partners. And then chapter 3, and now where we are we'll go online and we'll see all of our major competitors like bidding against us for ads, right? So anytime like you type in our name, you'll see that they're bidding. Like they're literally like, Stripe is bidding and PayPal is bidding and the banks are bidding. Everyone's like it's actually like trying to take the customer away. They know that they're going to search for us. They're starting to search for us instead. And so it's cool. But I will say it never intimidated me. I think that was something that I look back and I'm like, dude, where the fuck's that piece? I'm like, I had all this imposter syndrome. I didn't have the confidence, but I will say I've never been afraid of like playing the game. Like I love the thrill. I think I compare like entrepreneurs, and I think many of the women, and I've never been an athlete, by the way, so I have no athletic ability in my life, but I do feel like entrepreneurship is so much like sports. Like you have to really enjoy playing the game, and you don't want to be playing with like a team that sucks. Like I want to play with the best too, and that's what makes the game really fun as well. When you're getting to rub elbows with the greatest and the best. And I really feel like entrepreneurship, there's so many lessons I learned from sports, and I really look up to the late Kobe Bryant in so many ways as an entrepreneur, and just his his grit and his like ability to show up. And even when he was at his top, like to just continue to practice and focus on the foundations and focus on the basics and not let just to put in the work to be the best, I think is just, it's beautiful. And so now when I see the ads and I see our large competitors bidding against us, I think it's awesome. Like, I think it's so fucking cool, and I actually and they all know our name, like they know us. I just like recently had a call with Stripe's team and it was awesome. Like they were just like, it's funny. Like, even though you feel like, I think when you're smaller, you feel like the world is like, it's so hard to kind of get there. But I will tell you, even at the top of the mountain, it's still pretty lonely. And that's what entrepreneurship is. And so there's not a lot of people at the top, and it's actually not, it's competitive, but I would call it like co-opetition. There's still not that many people that then control like markets and things like that. So it's cool to have your competitors, but also have co-opetition and, be able to change things together in an industry in a good way. And so it's unbelievable. Like even just me talking about this right now, I still always feel in awe of like, holy shit, this is like real life. It's totally real life.
Yeah. It sounds like it's your first time. It's your first time talking about it. You're all excited. That's what it sounds like. You're just as excited. I love it. Tell me what you do differently at Stax for your people and team that is different than how things are typically done in the financial industry. I read a few pieces and how you're very passionate about things like pay equity and getting more women involved. And tell us about your feelings and what you do on that.
Oh, I could talk about this for days. I will say the things that I do different is that I've always cared. Like it's not now, it's not post Great Resignation. It's not post when you're big and you have to focus on culture and people are leaving. This is something that has been always from the start. The most important thing is the team around you and the people around you. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you are, you have a vision and you have other people that are leaving their dreams behind to support your vision. That's a big thing. And so you have to ensure that the things that you do to also support their dreams, and support I believe business is personal. And so I was so tired of everyone telling me that I take things too personally, right? Like as women, we're too this, we're too that, we're too this, we're too emotional, we're too everything. And I realized that I was just right. I wasn't too much of anything. I was just myself. And all of those things, Allie, are the things that make Stax the best place ever. It's not just like and we just got Best Places to Work again by Inc. and by Forbes, which is massive to do at the company level of our size too. So we're like in the mid-market sector and we win them every year. And it doesn't come from like them. It comes from our team who who does all of this. So it's not like I'm paying my team to be like, hey, put in these surveys. Like it's so incredible to see their genuine responses to things. And it's not just, it's not bullshit is what I'm saying. It's so real. But what we did differently is it's always been there. And culture isn't something that you like you force down. It's something that's super natural. And it's not about having a fancy office or a ping pong table. And that all went out the door during COVID, right? Like that all went out the door. So culture is really about how people work together. It's really about the environment that you create. It's about the collaboration that you create. It's about the trust that you have in your people. It's the trust that they have in you. And so really passionate about leadership and about having women at the top as well. I do believe in having equity and having equity across the board. So I believe in equity of minds, not just like diversity of like checking the box diversity. It truly is about having the right equity of minds because we need different perspectives. And that was one of the reasons why I started my own company, because I was not heard. And somebody left out an entire gender in an industry, by the way, like literally leaving out half of the consumers. We're the ones like that also are the other half. We're the other half of the consumers, yet only men make the products for us. That doesn't make sense. So the things that we do differently, especially in the financial services sector. So it's one thing that the world's pretty shitty when it comes to equity, pay equity, and just having like diversity in the workforce. It's even shittier when it is in financial services and fintech. It's very, very male dominated. It's what I call stale, pale, and male. And I love many of my stale, pale, and male colleagues, right? Like there's nothing wrong with some stale, pale, and male. We need that too. And so, but we need diversity of minds. And so we have half of our organization is women and women in technology across all. It's not just women in tech who are coding. It's women in our finance team, women in our accounting team, women in our support teams, women in our sales teams, women in our business development teams, women in our marketing teams, women in our HR, all across the board. So having true equity, gender equity in the organization, having a diverse workforce, then having, pay parity is something. I think I got kicked out of a panel last week for it. I get kicked out of a lot of places because I will speak my mind on some of these issues. Like we're talking about pay parity, and all of these financial institutions want to sit here and talk about pay parity, and they're like, oh, it's so great. We're having the dialogue. What do we want to do about it? And I literally go, what do you want to do about it? Is let's not fucking talking about it. Like we'll just pull up your fucking see where everyone's getting paid. Like we should not be talking about it. Like it should just be done. It is simple.
Suddenly your microphone isn't working, right? You're like, hey.
Yeah, no, I literally will never get invited back to so many stages, and I'm totally fine with it. But let's not talk about
true.
What can we do? What can we do? No, there's nothing to do. Like it takes 1 second. Email your CFO right now. Everybody pull every CEO in the room. Email your CFO and say, hey, can you just check payroll for me and make sure that there is pay equity? Like just you don't even look at names. Like just go down the list and make sure that the same, if you are whatever position you're in, that they are getting paid the same in a band. And if you just have pay bands, then you have pay equity, right? And it does not matter what name is on the other side, what gender is on the other side. And so we need to stop talking and just start taking like simple actions. And I know I oversimplify things, and I think that's what
But what a great simple way to put it in perspective. Like you instantly is instant action item they could do, which is the antithesis of corporate mentality, right? If there's a direct solution, they avoid it. They'll do everything but. I don't know why.
Yeah. I know. Okay. So
I
think we can talk about this for a while, but I do believe, and I think we overcomplicate things, and I'm doing air quotes right now. I understand that it doesn't just work that way, but it does. And I think that it can. And so I ask really bold, dumb questions, and they're not dumb, but I'll sit there and I'll ask the question and I challenge it. And that's what I'm doing every day in the fintech space. And I hope to be, I am an example, right? I do believe that representation matters. And that's why I show up for all the things that I show up for. And when you say, I do feel like I'm fighting in my sleep, like I literally wake up, I'm always fighting in my sleep because there's something, and I don't want to have to fight. So my goal is not to fight. I'm trying to not just create dialogue, but actually drive action. And there's a lot of great dialogue, but the statistics are just awful, Allie. Less than 2% of female founders break $1 million in revenue. Less than 3% of women ever, like out of venture capital, right? Out of all the venture capital, 3% of venture capital, less than that goes to women founders. What the hell? Like, do not tell me that we have not just a little bit of work to do, and we can hold institutions accountable for that. Like there are things that we can do. We hold everything accountable. We hold healthcare accountable. We hold politicians accountable. We hold so many other things accountable. Right. But we cannot hold the institutions that give money away. Like, I do not understand why more like action needs to take place. And there is a huge, huge gap. And so I'm a really big advocate for women in business, starting, scaling a business, and all of the things.
What's really interesting, I think, right now, when you see people like you, people like a lot of the women that I coach and work with, they're coming, they see an obvious issue or problem, and they see kind of an instant obvious solution, right? Grossly simplified, but like you see like, well, here's the problem, let's fix it. And it's so interesting. It's like the old ways versus the new. And you are just such a representation, I think, of coming in with like that, hello, common sense, right? Like, well, this is how we should do it. And this is an easy way to do this. And this is, why don't we have flat fee for payments? And I want all of you listening to take this in right now, because it's so often, it's these ideas that seem so obvious that they almost seem, well, if no one's done it, then maybe there's got to be good reasons. You kept asking, Suneera, though. You're like, well, show me the reason. No one could give you a reason why it wasn't going to work. Then you realized, oh my gosh, maybe I'm here to do this. Like, maybe this is my thing. And there's so many women that I've gotten to know and have had the pleasure to work with that they get to this point. And I want to make such a big deal about this, because if you're listening right now, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what category you're in, all over the world right now, old shit isn't working. We are here to bring in the new ways. And that is why I just wanted to really just hit that nail on the head with you, hon, and like just watching what you've been doing. It's extraordinary. And there was something that you wrote down somewhere. You said, when you aren't given a seat at the table, you build your own table.
Absolutely.
So thank you for all of us.
Absolutely.
From all of us. Thank you for doing this and just being, and you're so fun and cool. Like, how do you do it all? How do you do it all?
How do I do it all? A lot of wine.
Oh, and you got two kids too? Tell me about your kids.
I have two kids. I have two little girls. They're the light of my life. Neela is 5, about to be 6. And then Anna is 3. And yes, Anna from Frozen, because my 5-year-old named my 3-year-old when she was 2. So that did happen. I was tired of fighting her. We told her she was gonna be a big sister like Elsa. Like, so that was kind of like, she was obsessed with Frozen. I'm like, oh, like Elsa. And then she's, oh, I'm gonna have a sister, Anna. So we called her baby Anna as like this like pseudo name when she was in my belly, but it ended up she's Anna. So Anna's wonderful, and they're just the light of my lives. It's so hard being a working mom and just balancing everything, and just so much to do all the time, Allie. Like, there's so much going on. I run a podcast as well. So I run CEO School, the podcast, and it literally is all of the things that you and I are just talking about. And I love your show, and I think your audience is going to love mine as well. I interview just amazing female founders that have broken what I call the 2% club, which is that less than 2% of female founders who break that million in revenue. And it's fairly tactical. Mm-hmm. It's specifically for women entrepreneurs. So Mondays are kind of how I built this. And then Wednesdays, I do a wind down Wednesday, and it's more just like, what's happening in the real world, life, business, crazy topics. So we have like, we can carry the conversation. And so it's super fun. I'd love to invite you out to be on the show. And I think you and I can have some really fun Wine Wednesdays and fun topics of conversation. Yeah. So it's the time where we get to laugh and not take, business so seriously. And so that's the show. And so I do a lot of things, and I have a team and it's a lot. Like it's a lot, like that reel, right? It's a lot. And it's fun too. So not every day it's definitely not perfect. It's definitely really messy. It's really chaotic. I have a lot of systems in place. And so for me, I teach a lot on systems and scaling. I share all of my business playbooks. I believe that from generation to generation, knowledge is passed on to the boys club in golf courses and locker rooms and at conferences and places that we literally have never had a seat at the table. And I want to learn from actual women entrepreneurs. And I want to learn in a way that I can understand, that actually works with my life and my style and my business. And I feel like there's so much gatekeeping in business. Everyone says that they want to help and share. They don't. And so I just launched my course, which is called CEO School. So it's like an 8-week, everything going from founder to CEO and all systems of scaling, like wherever you are in your entrepreneurial journey. So we talk about like people systems, people, profit, your marketing, like it's really business tactical, a lot of power and mindset stuff as well in it, but it's definitely like the business course that every entrepreneur needs to take. So that launched last month, and it's just been amazing. We've welcomed like hundreds of entrepreneurs into that program. And so that's
cool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. So it's super cool. So you guys can check it out at theCEOschool.co. And then we have an incredible, like the podcast, and we've got a membership as well. So we've got a membership community. And I love subscriptions. So of course I have a subscription box that goes out like every quarter to all of our members. And it's like a business fab fit fun box. And we have like workshops and master classes, and it's so fun. And then I've got Stax, which is my full-time, everything. It's my first baby. It's my first child. So I love it as a person. And we're, preparing to take the company public in, the next 2 years. And so it's a lot of work, a lot of leveling up, but I do my best. Like, I don't even know like what tomorrow holds, and everything just gets bigger and harder. And what I've learned is like, out of the last, 10 years of doing this, like you're going to run into things that like, you're like, I have never done this before. Like the problems are really hard, but we as humans do hard things. Like we just do. If you've gotten through whatever your challenge is, like at whatever scale you are, at the next scale, just tackle it the same way. So I think like the best entrepreneurs are the ones that are solution seekers, that are creative, and that can like find the solutions and not get so focused on, like the how, but more like the big strategy. And so as long as you can like problem solve in that way, I think that's what gets me through to kind of scaling at every which next level. Because what got you from 0 to 5 figures definitely wasn't what got you from 5 to 6. Definitely is not what's going to get you from 6 to 7. So it's supposed to break along the way. And then you just kind of, build upon that. So trust yourself and trust your experience.
I love it. Suneera, thank you so much. I can't wait to see you again in person. And we'll be in touch soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Allie. This was so much fun. I appreciate your time and your audience's time.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of Glambition Radio. If you enjoy the show, make sure you subscribe so you automatically get my new shows every week. Also, I'd love if you left us a review so more women like you can discover us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, and other major platforms. And I'd love to hear from you personally. Come join the conversation on social. Instagram is my happy place lately, and that's Allie Brown Official, but you can find links to my other platforms at alliebrown.com. Glambition Radio is the elevated conversation for women leaders, and I'm honored you tuned in.